Morning. Hi, everybody. Massive welcome to our second day. It's so good to see you all. Thank you for your cameras. I really appreciate it. And for your patience, just letting us get set up well. What a day yesterday was. I left yesterday thinking, oh, wow. I remember the feeling of seeing glimpses of what was to come. And I just couldn't help but come away from yesterday thinking, what is in store for all of you guys? Where are you going? What's this going to bring for you? How's it going to guide you to your next evolution? So I'm super excited that you're here. I'm really excited that you've shown up again. So thank you again for coming back. And on Facebook, I know we're live over there. It's great to have you guys all there. So I know there's a few new people. If you can just comment again where you're joining us from, it'd be really great to know where you're joining in from. So let's get started with a bit of that. Where are you joining us from? And then we will get stuck into the content for today. It's super exciting. Where are you joining us from? New Zealand. Okay. We have New Zealand back, Canada, Offaly, Ireland, New South Wales, sunny New South Wales, or sunny New Zealand, sorry, sunny New Zealand. That's great, Heather. We're in for a bit of a warm one today, which is great as well. Dublin, welcome, Neve. Melbourne, wonderful. So people from all over the place, which is really great. Fabulous. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now so we can get into some of the content for today. Where are we going to? Hold on. Now, there we go. So day 2 of blooming authentically and thriving financially. So as I've said, welcome back. I really want to know, as before we get stuck into theory and more content, which we have jam-packed for today, by the way, I want you to just fill me in and tell me, how did you find yesterday? So if you can go to the chat and just comment, or if you're here on Facebook, just comment below and let me know, how did you find yesterday? Was it inspiring? Did it create a little bit of momentum? Did you find that you enjoyed sitting with the questions yesterday and really getting into that? Can you just let me know how it's all been for you? How have you found it? Thought-provoking. Great. Oh, that's wonderful, Zoe. Perfect energy and an inspiration boost. Great. And inspiration for me is way more exciting than motivation. I don't know if you guys, I really looked for what's the difference between the two, just on a side note. And what I've really come to understand is motivation is very external. So it's very relevant to the topic that we're talking about yesterday around this internal, external driving force. But the motivation often comes from external driving forces, and inspiration often comes from within. So great choice of words. Loved the questions as I needed to explore how I really felt about money. Brilliant. I really enjoyed some of the questions to challenge ideas I didn't even know I had. Wonderful. Loved the content, inspired to work on this more. Great. Energetic and inspiring. Wonderful. Well done. Okay, fabulous. And over on Facebook, you guys can keep it coming over there too. So today is going to be a bit of a different day. So yesterday, what we were looking at was, what are the things, this is what we explored yesterday. What was it that you wanted, so that we gained some clarity on the vision? So we could really think about, are you vision led or led by your current circumstances? So really what we're trying to do is shift the way that you're living, focused on where you're going versus focused on how your current circumstances are right now. But the key to that, and the key to doing it really well, is to really sit with, what is it that you actually really, really want? So I kind of challenge you right now, just while we're here together, what is it that came up for you? What surprised you? How much is it that you want to earn? And what are you going to do with it? So do you want to share in the chat box anything that came up that you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that? And I was actually thinking about this morning as I was getting ready. I was thinking, there's so much beauty that comes when you don't have to think about what you can afford. You can have help. And that's one of the things that I've definitely enjoyed probably the most out of everything that I've changed from a standards and lifestyle point of view is, you can now have someone coming in to clean the house every week, and you can send your clothes to the dry cleaners as often as you want. And you can do all these things. You can get your meals pre-made if you like that, by someone who cooks things nutritiously. You can, it's the additional support that you can have as well. So I'd love to know in the chat box, what was coming up for you when it came to, what do you actually really want? And especially when it came to financially, what is it that you want to have in your bank account? What does that feel like? Share with me what was going on for you. Thinking about my worth as a salary versus wages I'm given. Yeah, I like that one. So my worth is a salary rather than wages that I'm given. So it's like, how much do I want to bring in financially based on the value that I'm providing, right? And the value that I am, I don't even have to do much. My being is also worth something, right? And my presence is worth something, all of that. It's really, really powerful. What else is going on? Who's going to be brave enough and be like, I decided I was going to have 30K a month, and that seems really like a big jump. What was it going to do for all of you? Fill me in. Mine was a step before that, and I learned that as I'm really great at paying debt, I create debt to pay it off. Well done with the insight. Yeah, right. So look at how that's playing out in your life. And then you say, you know, how else is that showing up in my life? Where else am I creating situations that are challenging and difficult just merely because it's habitual, right? So the fundamentals and really sitting in, where is it that I'm going? What is it that I want? And why do I want it was really the ethos of yesterday. And like yesterday, what we're going to also do is just give you guys a few opportunities. The first thing I want to touch on is that we have our Q&A tonight. I'm super excited for it. So at 6:00 tonight, I'm going to be by the fire, if it's still fire material. I don't know if it's going to be warm enough for a fire today, but anyway, we'll be in a different setting, a bit more relaxed, might have wine. And Margaret's going to come on, wonderful Margaret, who we'll meet later tonight, and ask me some questions around like ones that you guys have sent through, and just really anything that comes up during the Q&A that's going to help refine these principles and learnings for you as we go through today and what we've learned yesterday and what's to come tomorrow. So I highly recommend that you attend the Q&A. But I think also, I always remember there was a time that I was in Canada with Bob Proctor, and he said, the quality of your questions will control the quality of your life. And it's really true. Like, what do we contemplate and what do we think about? So not to put any pressure that your questions have to be, you know, life-changing quality, but just really sitting with it today and sitting with it during the session and being like, what do I want to ask? What's going to help me refine? What's going to help me have more clarity? And send your questions through. So just jot down hello@spritzmindset.com. Very simple. And you can send through your email, your questions to Maddie, and we'll have them all collated for later today. So that's one thing I wanted to say. So what else is here? It's like, I wrote 30K a month for myself, my wider family, and charity. Yeah, and you know, why not? What about 30K for you and your family and charity, which would be 90K? And I always challenge myself because I'm like, why did I choose that number? Like, what does that mean for me, right? But also, what can happen on the evolution of growth and change in your life is that, say you decide, right, 30K a month initially, then we get on with making that happen. And then what happens is when you're there, then you realize, oh, okay, that's not actually a lot of money. So what can I do if I had 90 or 100 a month? So there's a beautiful evolution, but you know, it's the stretch that's a lot of fun. Realizing how blocked I am to abundance because it was so hard to spend the money in my head. Yeah. How funny is it when you're like, okay, so now I have 30K a month. What am I actually going to do with it? And going through and like actually going, okay, like what kind of clothes would I like? And going in and like, because now you can do everything online, which is fun. Going in and shopping online and being like, where would I spend it? Where would this go? What would I do with it? And there's a lot of value in doing that and realizations. The opportunity to live outside of the routine is a massive instigator. Yeah. You don't have to conform to anything. Like I've learned that over the years. I thought I had to. I thought if I wasn't going to work like 9 to 5 and I wasn't, you know, showing up and doing what I was told by organizations and procedures and policies, that I would always live kind of a limited life. And it's actually the opposite. Once I realized how to master being free in myself and earning money, what I see as the right way, then everything came together. It all came together and I was free, and there was no more like, I have to be here at this time. I just do what I love now. So I think, Niamh, absolutely, it's great. You know, really enjoy that joy of exploring and just for me, if there's even a seed planted of hope That's so, so wonderful. I want 20,000 a month, mortgage free, private school, easy to pay bills, travel, new vehicle, experience the richer side of life. I also want to create a way of teaching kids at schools here in New Zealand, the TIR course. Beautiful, wonderful. So this is so good, right? And then what else? Like, because I think the experiencing the richer side of life, what does that mean for you? Where's the detail? Because sometimes I think it's like, we'll pay off the mortgage, we pay the bills, and we get all caught up in what we have to do with it. But where's the joy and that internal, like, I love having money because I get to do this, this, and this, you know? Like, I love when the cleaners come and I'm just like, it just brings me so much joy. And I'm like, you know, it's a two-way thing too, because I think because I appreciate it so much, they actually really like coming here. Well, so they tell me they really like coming here, and we have a beautiful conversation and we talk about personal development, because that's how life is when you're, you know, we always just attract what we are. So they're into it too, which is awesome. The opportunity to live and don't worry about paying for anything, enjoying the day and do all the things I love the most, and share more time with my family, friends, and give more because there is no financial pressure. Beautiful. Well done, everybody. And even if you're just joining us, I see a few faces that maybe weren't here yesterday. You can still go through the questions. You have the emails, you have your workbooks there. You can go through this in a bit more detail. And I do encourage you just to kind of sit in it, you know, and really have some fun with it. So before we kick off into more content, I'm just going to go through what we have in store for you guys today. So today is day 2. Really what we're diving into is why are you experiencing the results that you have? And what's it going to take to not repeat history? And when I say that, I mean your history. So how things have been previously, you know, it may be in the last 2 years, but it also might be patterns that you're seeing over the last few decades, but also history from the point of view of intergenerational history. So I've got a real passion about changing the story from generation to generation, because if we don't consciously do that, unconsciously, we'll just be repeating patterns from the past. So I'm going to explain this in more detail today, and like why that is that case and what we can do to actually change that. So that's what we're going to be going through today in a bit more detail. We're going to be breaking down consciousness. If you don't know what that is, that's fine. You're in the right place. To understand the power that you have within you to create whatever it is that you want on the outside, because it's always a two-way street. It's from within that you create without, and you create with outside. That's what I mean, not without. This is really based on a few key things. One of them being that intergenerational habits, personality dynamics. I'm going to talk about a bit more today, a deep dive into the science and principles behind thriving financially. So we really are looking at this integration, which we mentioned yesterday, which is the wholeness. How can we create wholeness from a financial point of view, and also a happiness and a authentic self-expression point of view. So you're being you're staying in your integrity, you know your values, and you're living in it. And also the bank balance is reflective of what you chose and what you desire. And so is your lifestyle, okay? Because you have that circulation piece coming around. This is a necessary look into why you are currently experiencing the results that you have and what it takes to not repeat history, okay? So before we begin, if you have your workbook or you have your journal in front of you, just take a moment to clear your head. Anything that's on that to-do list, anything that's burdening you right now, just in bullet form, get it off your chest onto that piece of paper, so you don't have to think about it. You don't have to remember it while we have this time together. Just put it out there. We'll give you 30 seconds to do this. Enjoy. Okay. And this is something, you know, it's amazing that you can come along to masterclass series like this and you can learn things, and then you might just take away one little thing that's like a habit or a practice that we've introduced very subtly like this, and you start doing it and you realize, oh my God, there's actually a lot of power in that. That's how I actually stumbled upon this idea of like clearing your mind onto paper, because once it's outside of you, you can then look objectively at things and be like, oh, what's important? What do I actually need to do? And what else is just baggage I'm carrying around? So you can use this at any point, and I find it really, really helpful. And also giving yourself permission. So for those of you who weren't here yesterday, this is really about owning what's holding you back. It's usually that internal conversation. And every time that you show up for something, when you have the opportunity to expand and grow, you really have to sit with this and say, okay, is there anything obstructing me right now? Is there anything that's internally going on that's going to stop me from being totally open to receiving what I need to learn, or the aha moment that I'm ready for? So some examples of permission slips are staying open-minded, being honest with yourself, focusing on your needs, okay? Your needs as an individual. So anyone who's a parent or a sibling or a friend, sometimes you can have the tendency, especially if you're a bit of a people pleaser, if you had in the past been a bit of a people pleaser, to look at other people and be like, I need to be able to create this for all of them. But I also encourage you today and over these 3 days together to really come back into what it is that you need for you, right? Being more self-compassionate. So especially today, as we go through, some of this stuff can be a bit heavy today, but it's so good. So I really encourage you to stick with me with this one. This is where the life-changing stuff happens, okay? So we're getting yesterday into the vision and the inspiration and where are we going? But today we're looking at how do we actually change your life permanently, right? So can you have more self-compassion? I would really encourage you, if anyone is struggling with being really honest with themselves, today is the day to give yourself permission. Just be frankly honest. Try maybe even be an observer rather than emotionally connected to what you're observing in your life. Just stepping back like you're standing, looking at yourself rather than being in your body, and just observe. So that might be the permission that you need today. And I'll mention it again because I think it's one of the biggest things that I want to change in this world is really letting go of what other people think of you. When you do that, you can gain so much more clarity and hear the voice behind the voice that's actually trying to guide you to what it is that you actually really want. So give yourself a second to write your permission slip. Maybe it's in your workbook, maybe it's in your journal. What do you give yourself permission for today? Wonderful. Hi to everyone who's just joining us. It's great to have you here. Hi, everybody over on Facebook. I can see you guys too. It's great. Okay, well done. So grant yourself that permission. You're in charge of that part. Okay, can't do it for you. So to begin, today we really need to take a look at really where things are for you, okay? It's going to take sitting honestly with your current situation. And I think it's really important at this point to realize that there's a lot of power in being grateful for every part of you, every habit, every decision, everything about you that's led to this point. Because that has helped you stay safe. It's helped you get to here and also get you here to this masterclass. So I know when I was in your shoes, I was utterly frustrated when I was on something like this masterclass at the start, because I was like, why is life better? I'm doing everything that, people tell me I'm supposed to do. And that was as far as I could see at the time. So it was actually challenging for me to sit with it and be like, why is this happening? And what have I done to create this? But I think before we get into the reflective piece, it's like, be grateful, because at the end of the day, everything about you has brought you to here and you're wonderful and great and you've achieved so much. What we want to do now is look at what needs to change and tweak to get you to there. Okay. So it's with a grateful heart that we proceed. Okay. And we're looking for radical honesty today. So looking at your current results. So I'm going to get you guys again with your piece of paper and a pen. If you have your workbook, there's a prompt there for you to do it in that space, but don't worry if you don't. So take a moment. And I think I want you to answer this with the first thing that comes to mind. Okay. With non-attachment, just looking at your current results. Okay. How happy are you with these areas of your life? So out of 10, write the first number that comes to mind as I read it out. How happy are you with your bank balance? How happy are you with your internal conversation in relation to money? Out of 10. How happy are you with your access to cash to be able to spend? How happy are you with the amount in your savings account? How happy are you with the satisfaction of your career, or if you have a business, the progression of your career, so the profit within your business, sorry. So satisfaction within your career out of 10. And then if you've got a business, the profitability and prosperity of your business, how happy are you with that from 0 to 10? And then feeling alive and blooming authentically, how much from 0 to 10 do you feel you're happy in that area? Okay. So then if it's a full collection, it's going to be either 60, it's going to be 60 as maximum. So can you add up your numbers? Just get your phone, get something, or just write. I mean, maybe you don't need your phone for this, just 6 plus, it's 1 plus 1 plus whatever it is. Add it up. Out of 60, what's your number? And when you have it, can you comment? So if you're watching on Facebook, can you just pop it in? If you're on Zoom, just put it in the chat. Out of 60, where are you at? 15. Yeah. 30. 6. 28. 29. Yeah. 15. 26. What else? Yeah. 25. Great. Great honesty, guys. 34. Really good. So do we all agree there's room for improvement with this? I think we do. I think if you're not up around like 50, 60, then there's always room. And also, to be honest, you never really want to be at complete satisfaction, because then there's no growth. There's no, we're not moving forward and creating, like, there's going to be always one area of this that you're like, yeah, I can make that better. Okay. So we're never going to see 60s. Well, I would always aim to try get between 40 and 60, in the high category. So there's room for everyone to improve in this area, which is really great. Okay. And the reason why it's important to be honest with your current results is because sometimes we kid ourselves to stop ourselves from doing the things we don't want to do in order to change. Okay. So this is a real frank look of like, hold on, even if I'm financially cashed up and I've got my savings and I have access and the business is making profit, am I really feeling alive and blossoming authentically? There could be room for improvement with that. So this is why, again, we're looking at this integrated model. Okay. Why do you think you have these results? Really think. And if something comes to mind you want to share, it's helpful for me to know more. So feel free to share it with me. But why do you think you have these results? What do you think it is? Fear to do something new. It's brave. Thank you. Why is it that we have these results? Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes it's like we haven't thought about it, personal block. What does that mean? Playing safe. Fear, right? I wonder how much of these two fears, like the fear of doing something new and different outside the routine and the fear of what people think of you. I wonder if that's like the overarching, I haven't enjoyed my past and current jobs and I feel guilty about that. Inherited beliefs around money, don't want to seem greedy, or that too ambitious is bad. Oh, wow. Beliefs, habits and learned behavior, parental input in their beliefs. Jumped on the hamster wheel following what I should. Good insight, guys. Okay, great. Continuing to do what I've always done, Vicky. Yeah. Until recently, changing up my routine and investing in my self-development. Well done. It changes everything. It changes absolutely everything. So everything, all results are always a direct reflection of what's going on within you. Okay. So this, if you can get your head around this, and if I lost you and if you've kind of got distracted, come back, because I'm going to get into some really good stuff right now. It's like the outside is always a reflection of what's going on inside. Okay. And I'm going to break that down in a bit more detail for you. So the first thing I want you to think about is your mind. Now, those of you who worked with me, don't answer if you know where I'm going with this. I want you, for those of you who've never thought about this before, think about, what does your mind look like? And describe it. Like, tell me in the chat, what does your mind look like? What is your mind? What does it look like? And over on Facebook, you guys can comment too. Not so much going on over there, but that's fine. What is your mind? What does it look like? I'm not surprised it's gone quiet because it's challenging. It's like, I'm not sure. Like, is my mind my brain? Is my brain my mind? What is my mind? Yes, we talk about how powerful it is all the time, but we don't have clarity on what it actually is. Okay. So I've asked this at many events and people have said, like, it's like a monkey. I remember Jenny, one of the ladies, was like, it's like there's a monkey in there and he just won't shut up, you know? And then there was someone else that was like, it's like a galaxy and there's like all these things moving around. And it was just like so dynamic. I'm like, wow, like creative thinkers, it's so fascinating. But at the end of the day, our mind is not our brain, right? Our brain is an organ, the same way our heart is an organ, our kidneys are an organ. Our mind is something else. And no one talks about this. What is your mind? What does it look like? So I'm going to help you guys put an image together that's going to help you gain clarity, because clear is kind. And if we don't have clarity and we don't have an image, it's very hard for us to get our heads around something. Okay. So this is an image that I've been introduced to many years ago now, at the very, very beginning. And the person who taught me about it was introduced to it like 50 years ago. So it's been around for a long, long time. It's very simple. It's not as complex or dynamic as you think, but very, very powerful if you can get your head around it. An octopus multiplied by 100. There you go. That's exactly right, Niamh, right? It's that kind of idea of like, whoo, it's so vast. But simplifying it is going to change everything. So this is the image I want to give you for your mind. Okay. Very simple. It's called a stick person, or sometimes it's called secret genie. And what it really contains of is a big circle. The big circle on top is bigger on purpose. Okay. And in this big circle, for this purpose of this exercise, it can represent your head. Now, your mind isn't just contained to your head. That's a conversation for another day. But within your mind, you've got two sides. You've got your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And for anybody who's psychology background or psychiatrist, you know, at this point, you realize there is obviously more to your mind than this, but this is to keep things simple. Okay. So we've got our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. Now, the way that I have changed my life through understanding with this piece is to really see myself and see all of this as if there's energy coming to me. And it comes in like a funnel from the top into the top of my head. And the reason why I know this to be true in my soul when I say it, and when I know because the truth always resonates with me, is because as I told you guys yesterday, a decade I spent in palliative care with people at the end of their life. And I've seen a lot of people transition and leave this world. And at that point, I stopped and thought about it. And I was like, their brain is still there. Like Albert Einstein's brain is in a jar in some museum somewhere, right? So that's not where the genius is. That's not where the mind is. The mind is in the body for a period of time. So I'm going to use the word energy. It's the energy that's in this body right now that's making things happen consciously and subconsciously. So things happen with me being aware of it, and things happen without me being aware of it. Okay. And this energy, it flows through my body. From my mind is really where it comes. My mind is the control center, guiding it, directing it. And then my body kind of follows through on what it's told. For example, you know, my lungs breathe, my heart pumps, all of these things happen. Okay. But because of what my body does, it's also the action I take and the results that I attract. So if you can use this image to bring some clarity into what your mind looks like, I can pretty much guarantee that everything's going to become a little bit easier, because you're going to gain more understanding with this. So I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail. Okay. In order for you to really get your head around this, okay, and to understand how results are created, the reason why I want to go into this in so much detail is because if you don't know how your results are created, then you won't be able to change them moving forward. But once you're empowered with understanding how, it's like you're a step closer. So you have to go back to when you were born, right? Babies, anyone who's a parent or hoping to be a parent, it's also helpful to understand this. Babies are born with their subconscious mind wide open. Okay, so it's like if you imagine the circle, the top half has been taken off, and their subconscious mind is absolutely wide open, and they're just taking everything in. They're like sponges. That's why we call them sponges. Until the age of 7, it's just basically they just take it all in. Okay, after the age of 7, the conscious mind begins to be formed. So at this point, the subconscious mind is also active, but now you have kind of like a filter where you're like, oh, is that true? Is it not true? Before 7, you're just taking it all in. Okay. Now, the subconscious mind has also been described as the emotional mind. This controls the vibration of the cells within your body. The other way of looking at this is it controls the direction of the energy within your body. Okay. And it sets up the frequency that you're tuned into. So when you look at the way the world works, it's like radio stations. Okay. So when I'm on 98 FM, I can't hear what's on 104 FM. And the same thing can be said with frequencies. Okay. So when I'm on my frequency and I'm thinking about abundance and prosperity and, okay, sorry, just said something strange on my screen. When I'm thinking about all these things, that's a frequency that I'm on, and I'm attracting what's in harmony with that. We're going to talk more about that today as well. So just knowing that this is really, really important for you to try and get your head around. The subconscious mind is where your habits, your self-belief, your internal relationship with money, any trauma or experiences that you've had in the past, or intergenerational trauma, which again, I'm just touching on, but it's something that's really important. The way in which you see yourself and your self-worth are all stored in your subconscious mind. Okay. So if you think about it, what your subconscious mind is, it's unconsciously happening all the time. It's controlling things without you having any conscious awareness of it. And this is mostly unconscious, meaning it happens without any conscious control, and your relationship with money falls into this category too. Now, the key with this as well is something else that's really, really important for you to understand with this is that when we look at results, okay, so when you look at the results that you're getting, when you looked at your from 0 to 60 about financially, okay, or any other results that you're getting in your life, 96 to 98% of those results are created because of what's going on in your subconscious mind. So it's the habitual way that you are without you even being aware of it that controls 96 to 98% of the results that you're getting. So everyone who's trying to logically figure it all out, your logical conscious mind, the one that you're aware of, the one that you're in charge of, I suppose, to a certain extent consciously, that controls 2 to 4% of your results. And this is why, without this understanding, why people are utterly frustrated when they're trying and they're working harder and they're trying to get their head around things and they're investing in strategic operations or the how-to, but they're not doing the work on the subconscious transformation. They're not doing the work on the understanding themselves on a deeper level, which means that there's a lot of effort and trying when not the consistent, sustainable results that they're seeking. This is making sense? Yeah. It's huge. Like, I say this with enthusiasm because I'm like, this is what will change the world. If we can just get everyone to understand that there's a depth to you that's controlling everything. And by evolving that and understanding it and having compassion for that side of you and thanking it for getting you to here, but also knowing it can be tweaked and changed. That's the beauty of this. It's absolutely wonderful. So the greatest quantity of what is going on within your subconscious mind is inherited. Okay. Now, anyone who's a parent, don't be beating yourself up too hard. Because I know sometimes you're like, oh my God, what have I done to my children? Don't worry. If they're older than 7, you still have hope. I didn't learn any of this until, the last 8 years, and it's totally changed everything. So there's still opportunities for you to empower them with information. But also when I talk about inherited, it's generational, but it's also environmental. So it's what's been passed down from one generation to the next, but also what have you been exposed to in your environment as a young person, but also growing up and now in your current environment. It has such a huge influence from what you're witnessing as a child while your mind is open. So those first 7 years, hugely impactful. That's why a lot of people that I work with, we do tend to do a bit of like this inner child healing and kind of going back to those times, or you're repeatedly exposed to over time until your mind accepted the idea as true. So the thing is that you can tell yourself a lie enough times, your subconscious mind will eventually accept it. It doesn't know the difference between something that's real and something that's imagined. Okay. So for a long time, like let's say, for example, Like, I always remember this funny story. I was tiny, like I must have been about 5. I wasn't, because I don't think I was going to school. Maybe I was 4. I just remember it really vividly. And my granny took me to a funeral in Ireland. I don't know, maybe that's what you do with kids when you're a granny in Ireland. Sometimes when you have to go to a funeral, I suppose, where else are you going to go? So I went to the funeral with my granny, and I always remember at the end, you know, in Ireland outside the church, at the end of the funeral, people kind of gather and chat, and it's all actually very lovely. And my granny was talking to one of her friends, and her friend kneeled down to my level, right into my face. And she said, and she kind of like, I don't know, I feel like she kind of had my 2 hands, and she was like, you know, there's one thing, honey, you'll never own an eyebrow pencil, right? And I was like, what does she even mean? What's an eyebrow pencil? Like, it made no sense. But I can still hear that woman's voice in my head and play out the whole story of how the whole thing happened. And I mean, she's true. She's right. She was definitely right. But it's like the repeated things that are in our head create such truth in our life. Okay. Be it true or be it not true. So this is what's formed our subconscious mind. Now, none of this is your fault. None of it is a blame game. None of it's even bad, because so much of it has kept you safe and actually motivated you to change, right? So it's kind of like this celebration of, okay, this is how I am. 96 to 98% of my results are controlled by what's going on a deeper level. I'm now aware of that, and now I can do something about it. Okay. So this is really what this is all about. Does anyone, actually, I think I have that on the next slide. So if you choose unconsciously, this is a really good one to think about. If you choose unconsciously to evolve unconsciously, if you choose consciously, you evolve consciously. Let me say it again. If you choose unconsciously, you evolve unconsciously. So before this point, you didn't know this, or maybe you've heard it a few times, but maybe you got it in a different way today. Okay. So it's kind of like when they say ignorance is bliss. For the ignorant, ignorance is bliss, but often they're not choosing how they live their life. If you choose consciously, then you will also evolve consciously, and you can evolve what's going on in your subconscious mind too. The key to you living life, blooming authentically and thriving financially is understanding the cause, why it is that way, and how to change it. Okay. So there's a lot of beauty in what we're doing right now, in the celebration, because I think it's really important. I think too much emphasis, especially in the personal development space, is put in like change and what's bad and what's, you know, it's not like that. It really isn't. When you actually get it, it's like, you're wonderful how you are, but for some reason you've just adapted and taken on and let the repetition happen for so long on ways that you don't want to be, that we just need to work on changing that. Okay. So, okay, I went backwards. Hold on. So this is something I wanted to play with because I enjoy this game. So have you ever noticed how like your parents that you are, or your guardians? So I want you to think about this. What's one-liner that you now say that a parent or guardian said in the past that used to bug you? Just comment in the chat box, or if you're on Facebook, just put it on underneath so I can see some of them. But what's one thing that you used to hear as a kid and you're like, I'll never say that, and then suddenly one day you're like, oh my God, I'm that person? Is there something that someone said? Like, I know, for example, I've definitely said things like, even to myself, where it's like, there's starving children in Africa, finish your plate. And I didn't enjoy, like, it wasn't said that often in my house, thankfully. But it's like, it's like, oh my God, I can hear that internal voice in my head, you know, or what are people going to think? You know, sometimes we hear these things and it's just there, you know, sure, I'm grand. Yeah, it could be worse. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm grand. Like this dismissiveness. Sometimes we've seen that growing up. Why are you crying? I'll give you something to cry about. Harsh but true, Lois. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What's one habit, right? Or way of doing something that you notice your parent or guardian does? I know this is like, absolutely, I can see such clear things. Like, for example, my mom loves to procrastinate through cleaning and organizing and trying to like she'll be like, okay, she needs to get something done. Suddenly the windows are getting washed. She's often on these calls. She'll probably listen back to it. So she'll laugh at that one. And I'm exactly the same. Like I know, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeding into this, but I'm enjoying this procrastination. I can definitely feel that that's part of me. I also know that like my dad likes things to be organized, especially his wardrobe, like everything to kind of have order and a place. And I've got exactly that happen as well. I like things to be organized. So it's like, what are the subtleties? And I like to celebrate them because I'm like, thanks, thanks for that. And there's other things that my mom is absolutely mad into vegetables. I got that from her, like what are the celebrations and what are the things that we notice? Because I can tell you, you are a combination. And sometimes it can be hard because it can be like, you might look at one of your parents and think, I don't want to be like them. If you don't consciously change to evolve, then you, unfortunately, I promise at some level, unconsciously, you will be. Because it's what you saw. Now, some people have already done the work, and I'm going to talk about this a bit more tomorrow actually, about how sometimes this happens without you even trying, but I'm going to continue. I grew up hearing, what would people think? I'm still working on not worrying about that. Yeah. I do things that make me happy so long as I'm not hurting someone else. Yeah, it's a huge one, Vicky. And the subtlety of it, it's pretty strong. Constantly worrying about body weight, diets, exercise. Yeah. Or like, I can't, who grew up hearing like, we can't afford that. Or, you can't have that yet, or just limitations, or anything like that. And I think that's what's important to kind of acknowledge. So it's intergenerational. Okay. Or maybe your granny said something, or maybe, it might not have been, it could have been something you heard in school. Don't get above your station. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Don't get too big for your boots. And also, what did you observe when it comes to working? So I came from a family, like intergenerational family of people who worked. So we're employed versus business owners. And I saw people, my dad used to work at sometimes 24-hour shifts, right? Working hard. And it was like, I'm working hard for my family. And it was like the only thing that I saw growing up was you worked hard, you earned money, and that's how you provided for a family. So when I moved into a space of being like, what do I want? It was like, that old habit of like working hard was so strong that needed, to be adjusted. So when it comes to money, what relationship do you now see you may have inherited? Okay, that internal voice. And these are questions that you guys can do a bit of contemplating on tonight and bring some questions to the Q&A if anything comes up. Is this coming from lack or abundance? Now, some of you will be like fortunate and you'll like say to yourself, or, the thing is, there's always an undertone. So even if you grew up with money, there might be something else. It might have been keeping up with the Joneses, like everything had to be perfect. And there was a certain standard that had to be maintained. And that can also come with its own level of pressure, right? What habits has this created? So like what Lois was saying earlier, maybe it was like, I was really raised to never be in debt, but now I keep creating debt just to pay it off because that's the habit that it's created. Is this serving the future life that you're seeking to create? And do you want their results? So this was a real big one for me. I absolutely adore my family, like absolutely adore them and miss them like crazy because we can't get home right now. But I don't want to follow in their footsteps. My parents worked really hard and they did a wonderful job, but I don't want to work as hard and I don't want to create a home that, has that kind of energy of the only way of getting there is through working hard. And there was lovely happy times too, but I wanted to be more ease and joy. So I want you, like, who feels like they'd like to have, this is how I see it. This is what I challenge us to do, is that every generation that comes along upgrades their conscious understanding of what creates results so that there's this constant evolution. So would you like to be the person that upgrades this for you, but also for your collective family? Is that something that feels appealing? Because I know for me, like that's hugely appealing to be kind of to do it, but also to be the kind of ripple effect. That was like one of my biggest goals at the start. I was like, I want to do this, but I also want to be the shining light for my family. And once I stepped into my power, once I understood how to do all of these things, it's amazing what happened. Like my sister-in-law, my mom were the first to come along and be like, well, what are you doing? I want a piece of it. And my brother, as much as it challenged him at the start, was like, oh, I don't know what you're doing. And then eventually was like, give me a piece of it. And it totally changed his life. And it's had a massive ripple effect across my whole family. So I just wonder if people are here thinking, oh God, yeah, I really would love to be able to have that ripple effect. Yeah, there you go. And even things like, look at that, enjoying mahogany furniture. Thanks, Mom. Yeah. Like, what are the things that you enjoy? Like, I have loads of little things around the house, like this is like a little bird. And like just little cute things. Like, I don't even know where I got this from, but like my mom's always like, this is one thing my mom bought me. It's like a little cute little Buddha. I just think it looks like a little child Buddha. It's really cute. So, but she's into, we call these things faldals. My uncle from Kerry, I don't know if that's a word, but he used the words faldals. It's kind of like useless things that fill up your house and you have to polish them and keep them clean. But I know my mom's really into these things. Then I notice, oh my God, I've got all these little things around the house, right? But it's just, that's part of it, right? The beautiful part of it. Okay, so 100%, yeah, we want to change this. Okay, great. That's a link to my brother to watch this series. There you go, exactly. And that's what exactly, but you know what's even more powerful is to be the change, is to like, you know, you don't even have to show them or give them anything. Wait till they come to you. That's where the fun really lies. But I mean, do both if you want to. So the first step of change is an evolution in your understanding. It's the light bulb moments. Then we make decisions based on this newfound insight. Okay. So blooming authentically and thriving financially. I wanted to touch on these two elements of you. Okay. So this comes back to our integration piece that we were talking about yesterday, where we're looking at personality and the soul energy. So if you want to think about it, that internal part of you, you might relate to a word like soul or energy, whatever works for you. Okay. It's the same thing anyway, to be honest, when you break it all down. I'm not going to get into it right now, but they're both the same thing. Okay. So what I want you to think about is, from a soul, that internal going within, staying in your lane piece, consider going deeper with these things. Okay. Consider really thinking about, okay, if I'm energy, and if energy is coming to and through me all the time, and it's guiding me, and it's setting up the vibration of my body, that's then setting up the vibration that goes out to the world, which then really dictates what's being brought back into my life. What is this? You know, what does my soul want? What does this energy want? And how does that affect my life? Am I living connected to this part of me? And can I keep grounded in this essence of me as I thrive financially? And I can tell you, you can do both. You can absolutely do both, but there's not very many people out there that are. So it's important about the decisions that you make moving forward. Can you honor this while thriving financially? Now, remembering that the personality part of you, okay, so your personality, you're born into it. It's born kind of with you, is how I like to see it. It's sometimes how I relate to being human. So your personality also is sometimes made up of components of this subconscious, inherited, environmental part of you, but also some parts of it are conscious, okay? But your body is the vehicle of the personality's evolution, okay? So your body kind of can bring you into certain directions and help your personality to evolve. So what I want to tell you guys is that the beautiful thing about understanding what you understand now and being on this journey is that there's no part of you that cannot be changed. If there's a part of you that you think isn't serving you, that you don't want to bring with you moving forward, or that you think it's holding you back, I 100% guarantee you that can evolve. So rather than feeling bad or beating yourself up or being a victim of what's happened before, and don't get me wrong, people need to heal and acknowledge pain that they've been through, but we don't need to carry it moving forward. This can be like, these 3 days can be an absolute line in the sand for you, where you now choose who you're going to be, what that's going to mean, how much you're going to listen to your soul or that internal compass that's trying to guide you, and how you present to the world based on that. Recreating based on your soul's direction versus maybe what you've been told or you've been brought up thinking that you should do. Okay. So learning to accumulate everything you want from the inside out is the only way to create sustainable, healthy wealth in your life. So when the energy of the soul is recognized, acknowledged, and valued, it begins to infuse the life of the personality. So this is when we talk about living from the inside out. When we go inside and we realize, do you know what? I've just grown up with this idea that money's bad. I've just grown up with this idea that I have to work hard. I've grown up with this idea that blah, 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 blah. So now I want to change what is going on inside of me. And I want to listen to what's actually true for me, because the biggest thing I like to teach everyone is self-trust. Your compass is there. You know best. You just haven't been skilled in how to hear it, and also empowered to make decisions from that place. Not going outside of you to ask other people what they think you should do, but going within. So when we think from that point, your personality evolves secondary to understanding and living in this internal compass. When the energy of the soul is recognized, which is what we're doing right now, do you believe that there's something inside of you that's trying to guide you? I would say 99% of you do, okay? Because every time I talk to someone, I realize, oh, I'm just attracting more people that think this way. It's acknowledged. We're now giving it space to be heard and valued. It's everything. Your internal compass, this is why you're here, is to listen to that and honor it. It begins to infuse the life of your personality. So then that can guide your personality. When the personality comes to support the energy, so that's the other way back, the personality is there to support the energy, what's going on inside of the soul, that is authentic power. If there's anything that you take away from these 3 days, I want you to understand that you can live in your authentic power. You can be cashed up, you can have your savings, you can have money to do whatever it is that you want, but most importantly, you can do all of that while having authentic power. Okay? And how you get there is what we're going to talk about now. Can you see the connection? Can you see the connection between this internal evolution and things on the outside changing? Can you guys tell me? Can you comment? Can you see the connection? Or maybe if you can't see it, the truth always resonates with you. Does it feel, how does it feel? Does it feel good? Does it feel like you're like, okay, hold on. I love the pause before the comments come through. It's so funny. I know. Honestly, that description is everything. It's living. Like, no one wants to get to the end and be like, oh, I just wasn't listening to my soul. You know, I've got all the money and I met them. So when I worked in one of the main jobs that I had over the last 10 years, I worked in the only private palliative care inpatient unit in Australia. We dealt with the elite of the elite. It was, people that could afford it. So I met people who had achieved so much, like famous people. I actually looked after famous people and famous people's family and stuff like that. And I'm sitting in the room with these people, humans, just like all of us, but maybe close to being billionaires, right? And it's the same conversation. It's the same things over and over and over again. So this is why this conversation is so important. This is why this is living. And I feel like this is why we're being sent all these messages right now, and we're given space and time to stop, to do this contemplation and to actually get our mind and energy focused on what's important. So good. Okay. Your soul is seeking expression. That's why you experience frustration. Anyone can relate? Anyone felt frustrated in the last 2 years? Wonder why. That's its way of communicating with you. Your emotions are wonderful. I think sometimes we're so harsh on our emotions. It's like, I feel emotional, or I'm upset, or I'm sad, or I'm frustrated. They're telling you, like, they're communicating with you that you're living out of alignment. Okay. In one way, shape, or form. You may not be expressing yourself fully. You may be on the wrong path. Your perception might need to be altered. So how much would your life change if you could learn how to create a new subconscious mind that aligned with the person that you want to be, the life that you want to lead, and the results that you want to experience? What would change? Really think about it. What would change? Imagine if we could just go along and I could just say, okay, tell me the subconscious mind that you want. And you're like ambitious and confident and grounded and authentic and self-expressive and abundant and healthy relationship with money and love intimacy. And you should just list it. And I just took it out like a CD player out of your brain and put a new one in. And suddenly you had this upgraded version. How would that feel? What would that be like? It's interesting what comes to mind, hey? I wouldn't care what other people think. That's it. Did anyone else have moments like that when they were going through the questions? Like, if I had all this money, I wouldn't care anymore. Liberated. Yeah. You just do exactly what you want to do. Yeah. Just have fun. So good. It would change your life forever. Okay. So I want to get into now how. It's all great to know. So if you look at the journey I'm trying to take you guys on, we started off by going, what do you actually want? And I had to kind of crack you open a bit because some of you are like, I don't really need a lot of money. I'm fine. Like, I just want to do good things and help people. I get it. You do want to do good things and you want to help people. You want to look after the environment. You want to thrive in what you're doing. I get it. But why can't you have money too? So I had to kind of go shake you up a little bit. That was yesterday. Yeah, did a bit of contemplation, thinking about, okay, what if I could earn my annual salary in a month? How would that change my life? How can I play with that? Can I actually be authentically myself while I'm doing this? What would that look like? And how does integration work? Okay. Then today we're looking at, well, why haven't I there? What's stopping me? So we're realizing that 96 to 98% of your results are controlled by what's going on in your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind has been created by the environment that you've been exposed to, especially up to the age of 7, but continued from that point onwards. And also your inherited genetic, passed down from one generation to generation, thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, habits. So here we are, and we now have this insight and this new awareness, okay? We realize that we like the idea of this internal compass, solar energy guiding us from within rather than looking from outside in. And it feels good to feel alive and letting that guide us. So this is all coming towards this point, okay? And then we want to think, okay, I don't want to repeat history. I want to be the trailblazer in my family. Maybe I want to be the trailblazer in my community. Maybe I want to be the trailblazer for women. And I know there's a lot of women that are attending this, and thank you also to the guys that are here. It's not to dismiss you in any way, but I was talking to someone yesterday and they were talking about how much to charge. They're moving into the coaching space, and they were talking about how much to charge for their coaching services. And I have a very strong sense of the ability to be able to empower women to be able to charge what they're worth and earn what they're worth, because it's really, really important that we change the story. And it's our generation, it's the people that are now alive that are, I feel, at the forefront of really creating some solid change in this space. So this is what we're moving towards, is realizing that you can have it all. You don't have to sacrifice. You don't have to limit yourself. And let's understand how we can actually do that, okay? For those of you who are feeling committed, and I think this is what it comes back to. I know I kind of harp on about this committed decision thing, but it's so important because that's all I did, right? It was like, I was like, okay, I like the sound of this. I like that person. I'm going to just do whatever they tell me to do. And I'm committed to following through and doing whatever it takes to get to where I want to be. So I'm not committed to pleasing results. I'm not committed to like a pleasing process. I'm committed to like the outcome, to be the version of me, to earn what I want, to help people the way I want to help, to live the life that the way I want to live. So you have to really ask yourself, like, from yesterday to today, is your committed decision to change, is it going up? Are you feeling really like this is it? I'm like, I've already done this amount of work. Maybe there's a lot of you that have done a lot of work already, right? Most of the people that I work with, it's not always the first time that they've worked with someone. It's also not the first time that they've ever heard of personal development. It's also not the first time that they've ever sometimes even heard some of these concepts, but they're ready for that next leveling up. And the thing is that the journey doesn't end. Anyone who's hoping to like just get to a point where they're like, I know everything and I'm done, you're kidding yourself. Because I know Bob Proctor really quite well, and he's now 87 years of age, and he studies every day, and he has mentors, and he has people that he surrounds himself with. So it's like, if you think that you got to a certain point and that you're like, you have to really ask yourself, your perception on that piece. So how do you feel? Like, comment in the chat about the commitment to the journey, the commitment to change, the commitment to like, you'll do whatever it takes. I just want to know who's at that level. Some of you may feel you want to be there, but you're a bit scared. I'll tell you what it's like after being through this experience. When I started, I was petrified. Okay. Like, I can't tell you, I would never speak in public. I just lived in my head. I was consumed by what people thought of me. It's how I actually lived every day. Like, I would make decisions like, if I wear this, how will people think? And if I go to that coffee shop and order that coffee, will they think that that's okay? Like, I actually was consumed by it. And then I said, I'm committed to changing. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Like, I'm literally committed to it. And the way I can explain to you how it feels on this journey is, it's like you're in a car and you're really competent at driving, right? And you're in the car and it's nighttime and it's pitch dark and you're driving down a country road and you have the lights on in your car. And all you have to do is take the next step. And it's like driving the car and rotating the wheels by one little, like a 360. Then you realize the light shines on the next piece. You don't need to know the answers to everything. All you need to do is really get cemented in with like, okay, committed decision. I'm doing whatever it takes. Now, that answer, we don't know yet, right? But it's just coming back to that commitment. Okay. So to evolve what is going on subconsciously for you, there are 3 key things you must do. You have to gain effective education specifically in this area. Okay. And when I say effective education, there is a saturation of information. YouTube, TED Talks, Instagram, Facebook, books, to name a few. Okay. And people are consuming because that's what we've been conditioned to do, right? Read more, get more. But how much of it is effective in creating change? And that for me was a big wake up call. I really like reading, and something I had to learn as an adult, like to enjoy it, because I didn't really enjoy it. I definitely didn't enjoy it in school. But I like it now. And I was like a book fiend, and I was reading all the personal development books, watching everything on YouTube, watching TED Talks before I made the decision that it wasn't really working. And my experience is that the consumption of information doesn't help, but effective education does. So what does effective education look like? It's tailored and it's step by step and it's directional. Okay. It's not just another book or it's like, this is what you do and this is what you do and this is what you do step by step. Okay. That's the first thing. The second thing is get a coach. Now people say, oh, how convenient, Ray, you're a coach. Yes, I am. But the reason I say this is it's really based on something very scientific and something that I want you all to understand. I don't care if you work with me, and I love it. I mean this with love. I don't personally care if you work with me or not, but I really encourage everybody to have a coach if they want to learn how to evolve themselves in this way. The reason being is, if you think about what I said, 96 to 98% of your results are unconscious. Even if you've become more consciously aware, they're still unconscious. So the coach is there to guide you, to show you your blind spots and help you evolve in a much quicker way. Do I think you can get there without a coach? To add an extra 10, 15 years, yes. But are you going to be devoted and dedicated the way that you could be? And I don't know. I just feel like, can you eventually get there? Yes, you can, but it takes a lot of self-motivation. It's much easier to do it with somebody in your corner. Okay. The third thing you have to do is assess who you surround yourself with, the conversations you're surrounding yourself with, the people you're surrounding yourself with, the environment that you're surrounding yourself with, what is that like? What standard is that at? And I can tell you, for a lot of you, getting around people that think like this will be life-changing. So there are the 3 things that need to change, because the thing is, you're a product of the environment that you're in repeatedly. You're a product of the conversations that you're in repeatedly, and you're a product of the awareness and insight that you have of your perception of who you are, what you are, and where you're going. So it's really, really important to get your head around these 3 things. So habits and beliefs about money that no longer serve you. This is your little homework, or whatever we want to call it. I don't really like the idea of homework, but I suppose it's in your home and it's a bit of reflection. So maybe home reflection. These are the things that I want you to really have a think about. Make a list of the habits and beliefs about money that no longer serve you. Sometimes getting it out onto paper and just seeing it for yourself and being like, that habit isn't serving me anymore. That belief isn't serving me anymore. And then really asking yourself, where did it come from? So why do you have that habit or belief? And how has it affected your life? And would not having that habit or belief anymore improve your life? And how? So this is in your workbook, okay? But this is a really good bit of reflection to do. Now, the thing with it, I want to reiterate from the start of this gathering that we've had today, is that be grateful for the habits and beliefs that have got you this far. Too often people are like so critical and like judgy of all this stuff. I want you to not judge. I want you to just be an observer. Everyone is doing the best that they can with what they've got. But now you know a little bit more. And now you have an opportunity for things to change really significantly. So be open to letting them go to get the next level. Okay. About 70% of lotto winners lose or spend all their money in 5 years. So for those of you, it's so funny. Like, it's amazing how many people I speak to, and then people say, oh, if I could just win the lotto. And I'm like, oh, you don't understand. If you haven't done the work internally, within 5 years, it's probably going to be gone. Like 7 out of 10 chance. So it's actually not about the accumulation of just having it. It's about the evolution of your relationship. That's really what we're talking about here. I think that just sums up the point so well. Okay. So just coming back to this point, this path is remembering that it's taking you to that 2 to 4% of the population in the world. Okay. There's not many people that live this way. It takes being brave. It takes being a new idea hero. It takes being someone who wants to stand out from the crowd. And I don't mean from an extroverted, because I'm an absolute introverted, but I mean from the way in which you are going to do things. It's going to take doing things differently. Okay. So you have to really ask yourself, have you decided and are you committed? And this is something I will constantly come back to, even with those of you who I'm working with, right? We're constantly coming back to this. Like, what are you committed to doing? What's your committed outcome that you want to do? And are we on this path? We're coming back to that all the time. Wanting more is a sign of growth. So well done. You're here. If you're listening to this, hi Lee and Catherine and Lola over on Facebook. And everyone here on Zoom, the fact that you're here is a sign of growth. It means you're no longer willing to play small. It means you're stepping out to be unapologetic about your desires. It means you're ready to rise up and welcome the greatness of who you are. Stretch. Have some fun with this. Don't forget to submit your questions, any questions that you have, guys, to hello@spritzmindset.com for tonight's Q&A, fireside Q&A. And I'm going to explore them tonight. It says tomorrow evening, but that's only because I haven't edited that word out. It's tonight. Okay. We're over on Instagram as well if you want to come follow us along over there. So well done. We went a little bit over, not so much as yesterday. Well done on showing up again. I really appreciate it. You guys are doing fabulous. Tonight is going to be a bit of fun. So I look forward to seeing you there. And we've got some really juicy questions that you guys have already sent through. So I really appreciate it. So have some fun with this, guys. Have fun. And I will see you tonight. Bye for now. See you. Bye-bye.